Sahajaste, natural in me affirms natural in you. In last session, we talked about identity. A very important milestone in the journey of naturality or in any spiritual journey to explore ourselves, to have an adventure in our life. Because identity is our reference point and it helps us in finding home in the world, connecting to our surroundings, and that brings self-esteem. Without a healthy identity, it is very difficult to have the healthy self-esteem and a good sense of self-worth, a very positive evaluation of ourselves. Finding home in the world, knowing that it is a borrowed entity. It truly doesn't belong to us. But in the beginning, that is how it has to be. And in most people, identity matures by the age of 25 to 30 years. And the reason being, around the age of 25 years, the prefrontal cortex, which is a very new part of the brain, almost fully develops. So we develop the capacity to plan, to contemplate, to self-reflect, personal critique, analysis, and so on and so forth. If there is a profound trauma, then it may take longer time for the healthy identity to establish itself. And of course, in some people, it never happens. And those people suffer lifelong from a variety of psychological and physical health problems. So identity is totally necessary, essential component of our life. But the problem happens if after developing, after having a healthy identity, we don't move beyond it. And actually, that is what happens in most people's lives. Because by the time we are 25 or 30, we established a pattern which we borrowed from our society, and it's cozy, it's comfortable, it is known, it is everywhere. So it is very familiar. So we don't want to leave. Because in order to go beyond identity, we have to challenge ourselves. We will become uncomfortable. We will be entering into the unknown, unfamiliar. A lot of people get so cozy in it, they never move out of it. Except around the middle age, and middle age means, midlife crises. Then they question this identity because they carried it on for the age of 50, 55, 60 years. That is why this crisis comes. But by then it's too late. Most of them never get out of it, and they continue with it because by that time they establish such a dense network of work, of relationship, of comfort, of pleasure. And that can be a tragedy in life. So in the beginning, this identity was a blessing. later on it becomes a problem, an obstacle, a loss. Because our life remains unexamined, unexplored. Of course, if we continue with our identity, family and society, they are very happy. Culture is very happy because they all want status quo. They want conformist, obedient. A good father, a good mother, a good citizen, a good student, a good this, good that, and they give gold medals and certificates and rewards and money. Who follow the pattern, who follow the well-trodden path. Because then they can put this person in a particular space and framework and they are very happy, safe. But on naturality path, as soon as we achieved healthy identity, we have to move out. And that transition experience of it is called natural personality. And nearly all ancient systems of medicine, healing system, they emphasize on it. And why they did? Because all of them realize that I cannot heal myself, I cannot be completely healthy physically and psychologically unless I discover myself. At the level of identity, healing doesn't happen. Wholeness is not experienced. Everything is put under the lid in the established pattern, and we keep on going more or less one day, the same day. It repeats. So this transitional phase we call natural personality. In Chinese medicine, it was there. In Middle East, it was Enneagram. In Indian system, it is called Prakriti, doshas, natural personality. And we are born with it. But after our birth, slowly the identity took over. Now we want our original nature back with which we came to this world. Because that is like picking up the threads of our own life. Now we are connected with the world, we enjoyed the world, we achieved in the world. Now we want to know ourselves. So this is the beginning of self-knowledge, self-knowing, self-actualization, self-realization, whatever you call. In naturality, we call natural self. So there is a huge variety of them. As I mentioned, Enneagram, idea of various flames, biles, Myers-Briggs. But here in naturality, we choose doshas. So what we are calling natural personality in naturality is the modified form of Prakriti or dosha, which come from Ayurvedic system. And why we did that? We explored all other system, and then we realized that dosha system is the most holistic system, it's a wholesome system, and also because it will guide us in a very detailed way. So number one, it is a wholesome system, it is a simple system, and it is connected with all levels of higher consciousness and spirituality. And why is that? Because in India, approximately 2700, 2600 years ago, there was a great sage teacher, Kapila, and he formed the system of Sankhya. Although Sankhya existed before Kapil, but the credit goes to Kapil that he gave it a clear form, organized it, structured it. And out of Sankhya, the teachings came two sister sciences. One of them is called Ayurveda, and the second one is Yoga or Yoga. Patanjali's Raj Yoga, 8-limbed yoga. So the whole idea of the Ayurveda was the first science to understand our mind and body and try to correct any problem if they are there in these two parts of the mind-body complex. So if you have problem with the physical body, emotions, thinking and feeling, that became the domain of Ayurveda. And once we achieve the stabilization of the mind and body, then we are ready to take another step, a leap, and that is through the science of yoga or Patanjali's 8-limbed yoga. All other systems, they didn't connect, although they are beautiful, they are very good, but they can't connect you directly to the higher levels of realizations and consciousness. So that was number one reason. Number two reason was that in Ayurveda, once you discover your dosha or personality, then there is a very clear guidance about lifestyle management. Whether it's sleep or food or exercise, work, relationship, you name it. It's a very integrative approach in terms of how you can live your life according to your mind, body, personality. So those were the two reasons we selected dosha, but we modified it. Because in dosha, they call it Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, and we adopted the English term so that everybody can understand wind, fire, and earth. And also one very interesting thing happened recently. I discovered that Helen Fisher, she classified personality according to neurobiological systems. So she mentioned there were 4 neurobiological or neurohormonal systems which can give you an idea of the personality of a person. And of course, she did the research in context of why we love each other. So two people come together and click and they fall in love. So why he, why she? That was a question in Helen Fisher's mind. And when she researched, she found these the 4 neurohormonal systems. And somehow they were very well connected to the dosha system and our natural personality. So natural personality is the modification of dosha system. And now we are connecting into the neurobiological or neurohormonal system of Helen Fisher after her research on romantic love. And those four systems she classified as number one, dopamine and adrenaline. And this system is very close to vata or wind. Second, she called testosterone noradrenaline system. And that is very close to fire personality or pitta personality. And the third system she called serotonin. And fourth one was estrogen and oxytocin. And combinedly, we connect it to kapha or earth personality. So that is why we made a choice, and we can explain partially on the basis of our brain, hormones, and rest of the nervous system. But as I said, a natural personality is a transitional phase. So we are moving from identity towards our natural self. So here is the identity, here is the natural self where we realize our full nature, individual nature. This gap is filled by this transitional phase or a bridge, natural personality. And in order to understand natural personality, we have to understand 5 feelings. And those 5 feelings are of earth feeling, stable, calm, slow moving. Water, again calm but flowing. Fire, hot, passionate, energetic, expressive. Wind feeling, always moving. And space is expansiveness. So earth, stability, water, fluidity and flow. Fire, passionate, wind or air, movement, and space is expansiveness. And when these 5 elemental feelings, although there is a physical part to it also, but primarily it is a feeling that out of these 5 elemental feelings come 3 types of natural personalities. So from earth and water comes the earth personality. From water and fire comes the fire personality. From wind and space comes the wind personality. Although, if we are very perceptive, there is no need to worry about all these details, because a very well aware person can understand his or her temperament or personality very easily. But in most cases, we need the help of this system in the beginning, only in the beginning. Why? In the beginning, we need something, a kickstart. And once we start, then we become more and more conscious and aware, and we keep on going and discovering ourselves. So this part is only a door. Once we enter into the door, we become quite conscious, quite aware who I am, and keep on gathering knowledge about ourselves. And after a certain point, everything becomes very spontaneous, because we are almost aware of everything within us, almost. So in the beginning, some theoretical start, and later on it becomes a matter of awareness. And how do we know that we are entering into our natural personality? The hallmark is experience of flow, and I will describe in some details when I show you some pictures and slides. For the timing, just to understand flow, and because of the flow, creativity, a sense of well-being. So those three, flow, sort of going through the life with ease and comfort, sense of well-being and creativity, that means you are entering into your natural personality. And once you discover that, then you adjust your whole lifestyle. You change your lifestyle, because in identity phase, whatever lifestyle we took, it was according to the world around us. All those traditions, customs, ritual, actually they decided how we are going to live our life. Here what happens, we are transitioning from the ways of the world to our individual ways. So we may be half of that and half of this. And once we reach at the very end of the natural personality, realization of natural self comes. And about that, we will explore in more detail in other sessions. Now, how this natural personality is formed, which is emerging? It is a combination of three streams. So if you consider my life is a river, this river is made up of three streams. The first stream is genetics, genes from my parents. Second is epigenetic influences of my ancestors, of my environment, the culture I live in, environment I live in, the world I live in, the community I live in, the country I live in. Those are called epigenetic influences. And the third one, if you believe, is rebirth or reincarnation, because we are carrying the impressions from last so many births. But only if you believe. If you don't believe, delete the third one. So after that introduction, I would like to show you some pictures. So let me do it. Okay. So in this slide, you can see V, and you turn V upside down, it becomes me. So what is that V? V is identity. I am the part of a family, of a community, of crowd or country or race, whatever it is. We. And in that we don't have truly individual existence. Our individuality is defined by collectivity. But when we are into natural personality, then process reverses, reversing that individuality now defines the collective. So collective defines individuality, identity, individuality defines collectivity, or the society or culture, and that is into natural personality. And this natural personality, we are born with it. It will always remain with us. The fundamental natural personality never changes entirely. It can be modified. Its expression may be varied. It may develop a spectrum, broad spectrum, but nonetheless, core natural personality we cannot change. No matter what we become. If you become even an enlightened person, that enlightenment will be expressed through natural personality. That is why two enlightened human beings, two very evolved human beings, they can never be the same in their expression, in their behavior, because they have different natural personality. So whatever enlightenment the light is, it will express through that medium of our natural personality. So for example, two great ones, Buddha or Buddha and Jesus, enlightened human beings, but expressing very differently in the world. So we are born with it, and it remains over time the same. Its expression may be varied according to circumstances. It has both significance in health and disease. That is why it is so important for us to know it. Because now knowing it, we know that we are prone to certain health problems. And also by knowing it, we know that if we take certain steps, we can remain healthy. Because natural personality is prone to fluctuation. It's very dynamic. That is why in Ayurveda, it is called dosha. Dosha means which can develop errors, mistakes very quickly. Once we align with this natural personality, then we develop a sense of well-being. But most of the time what happens, people struggle against it. They are moving against it. So what happens? They fall ill. They live with unease and diseases. And if we go enough into this natural personality, we will realize we will live in our natural self. So it is merely the door, not the end. Because this actually natural personality is the second page of the book of our life. The most beautiful book ever written in our universe is the book of our life. All other books, they came from the book of life, whether it's science or philosophy or religion or mathematics or medicine or engineering, you name anything. Life came first, and out of life, when we became the human being, and human beings became aware, and they came up with the idea of all these things. So the first page of the book is our identity, and the second page of our life's book is natural personality. And as I talk to you, that this is formed by the confluence of three streams, the river of our life, genes from parents, epigenetic influences from ancestors, from our environment, from our world, and past life, if we believe in it. Now, genes are difficult to change. They are more stable over time, and you cannot modify them easily. While epigenetic influences, you can change. Sometimes in days, months, years, or lifetime, you can erase epigenetic influences from your past. Of course, past life, we know they are etched also, but their influence can be wiped out. The most difficult part is gene. So it takes generations and generations before genetic structure changes. The natural personality have 5 elements. Here are the 5 elements. Water, ether, here means space, earth, air, and fire. And the quality of water is fluidity. You can see. What is the quality of space? Expansiveness. Quality of earth is stability and nourishment. Everything grows from earth. Fire, passion, energy, movement. But that movement is small because the real movement comes from wind. So whether it's physical body or feeling, the movement comes from wind. So when our intestine moves, that is wind. When our thoughts move, that is also wind. And the same thing is true with other elements. Now, when these elements combined, 3 personalities are formed, 3 natural personalities. The wind, Vata, Pitta, the fire, Kapha, the earth. So you can understand the nature of the wind personality. Moving. Inside is moving, and thoughts are moving, feelings are moving, and that can bring instability if we don't give it grounding. Pitta personality is shown by red, passionate, fire, egotistic, sharp, intelligent. Earth, solidity, calm, nourishing, peace. So we'll give example of each. So here is a wind personality, Michael Jackson. Great creative person, but too much movement, not stability. But there was another literary figure, Maya Angelou, more stable, more calm, because there was a grounding. Let's go to fire. Steve Jobs. What a creative fire who patented almost 200 products. But in some way not stable because there were problems in his life. But then you go to German Chancellor Angela Merkel, fire person, marvelous woman, but a woman of stability also. Then earth personality, the Dalai Lama, nourishing, compassionate, stable, calm, tranquil. And hugging saint of India, or Amma, also belongs because she's earth-like. She hugs and people are influenced by it. What is unstable earth? Unstable earth is a stuck person. Everything so slows down that there is a very little movement, and that becomes a problem. The beauty is we have all three personalities in us. There is nobody who is pure one personality. But out of these three, one personality, one natural personality will dominate. So idea of living our life is to allow that dominant personality to be on forefront and express it, and let other two support it. And that is what is called balance. A lot of people understand balance in a different way. They think there should be 33% of each type, then it will be a balance. Not at all. That is linear way of thinking. In nature, in us, in life, there is never anything linear. Everything is non-linear. So here balance is quite non-linear. It is not equal proportion of all personality, but one personality which is on forefront dominant, that is our true personality, and that should be expressed. And other two, they will help. They will support this one to manifest completely. Here are some details, but those details are sent to you by the theory also. So I won't go in great detail here, but just to show you the balanced wind is Alice Munro, who a very creative person, and she's a Canadian writer, short story writer who won the Nobel Prize. So Alice Munro, the balanced wind, creative, moving. Unbalanced wind is the Vincent van Gogh, again, all-time great painter, but with so much suffering in his life. And the whole idea of knowing personality is to restore balance, because that is the whole effort to know ourselves, to have the self-knowledge, so we could bring everything in more health and more balance. Then the fire personality here is Nelson Mandela, because he was such a passionate person. In the beginning, he was very angry and had a lot of violent thoughts, but he channelized his fire and ultimately became a great leader. And under his leadership, there was a big movement of reconciliation. So the fire turned very positive, balanced fire. But Steve Jobs, again, unbalanced fire, of course, great creative genius, but nonetheless, lot of suffering. So idea is again in fire to restore balance. And the balanced earth is, nourishing, helping, peaceful, stable, calmness, compassionate. So that is why the picture of elephant and boy, because that is really earth moment. Unbalanced earth, couch potato, all kinds of problems, lethargy, depression, a lot of weight gain, and so on and so forth. Stuckness, you can say. So again, the idea of knowing personality is to restore the balance. If certain natural personality has more than one imbalance, idea is to treat the wind first. And why that? Because wind makes everything way more unstable than the fire and earth. And those details are given in your handout, which will be sent to you. You can ask questions about your natural personality, and there are fundamental rules to it that if you are a Vata wind personality, rest and relax. If you are a fire personality, not too much planning, action, cool surroundings. If you are a earth person, keep on moving. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are entering into your natural personality, then you will feel a sense of flow or in zone, that suddenly you are in this space where you become very fluid in your mind and body. And in those moments, these voices of your identity takes the backstage, and that means your past conditioning, the voices of the political leader and education and family and parents. They are, for the time being, are not troubling you. So your own self, your own inner voice, your original voice comes on the surface. And that phenomena in neurosciences is called hypo-frontality, and most of the time it is transient. It comes and it goes. So because the frontal lobe is this part, prefrontal cortex, and the whole society sits here as images, as voice, as language. But in natural personality, when you are entering into it, that is absent for the time being. The flow is a very beautiful state, and in fact, all pioneer work, all creative work, when we shatter the old system or pattern, it is the result of a state of flow. And as you see here, that brain has changed, brain is changed, and there is immense creativity. And certain part of the brain are underactive, other parts are more active. And in terms of neurohormones, in this state of flow, it starts with norepinephrine and dopamine. There is a tremendous excitement. There is a little bit of sense of fear also sometimes, but then it leads to endorphins, which becomes more calm. And then it leads to anandamide after that, which is more blissful feeling, happy feeling. And finally, oxytocin or serotonin, where everything stays very, very beautiful and becomes very stable. A sense of trust, sense of bonding, sense of fulfillment. So you can see the whole neuroscience of flow, starting for norepinephrine and dopamine and leading to oxytocin and serotonin. And in the next slide, the is from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, is a Hungarian psychologist who created flow psychology. He interviewed many people who experienced the state of flow, and then he found there are 8 characteristics. There can be more. Why I'm emphasizing, because when you are transitioning from identity to natural personality, what you may experience. So what happens in natural personality, you have complete concentration on the task. Now, I will say it is more focused, a gentle focus, because concentration, like when you are working with the computers and you are completely concentrated, actually that can make you tired, because concentration needs a lot of effort. But actually in flow, the concentration is relatively effortless. So you can stay in flow for quite long time, and it is relaxing. In flow, there is a clarity of goals, means because everything is so focused, so you know exactly what you are doing and where you are going to arrive. And during that process, you are getting a automatic feedback from yourself. So that is a beauty, that your whole being is so active, and part of it is functioning towards the goal, and simultaneously the other part giving you feedback exactly what is going on. So if anything has to be corrected, but everything is very natural. It is not really thinking which you are using, because most of the time we are critiquing ourselves, we are asking ourselves whether I'm doing right or wrong. Those kind of things don't happen. Everything is very spontaneous and natural. Another feature of flow is the time is change, because sometimes time is speeding up. So you may be in flow, and 4 hours are passed, and you say, oh my goodness, it's only 10 minutes psychologically. Other times your time may slow down extremely, and that happens during the time of accident, or mountain climber, skydiver, surfer, all those people, when they are facing a crisis, the time dilates, time slows down. And this is a wonderful mechanism of the brain, because if there is a sense of slowing of time, then you are able to absorb so much data from within and from outside world, that you can make a decision, a very well informed decision in a moment, and that actually saves the life. And if you want to read about it, it's a very fascinating book by Steve Kotler, Rise of Superman. I will say Superwoman also. Steve Kotler's Rise of Superman, and that will give you an idea in the form of story, real story about speeding up of the time and slowing down of the time. Other thing about the flow is that most of the time, whenever we do any work, take any project, take any action, we expect a reward from outside. So basically, we become dependent on the world for our self-worth, self-evaluation, or self-esteem. So that is the reward from outside. But the beauty of flow is that it gives you a sense of joy and fulfillment from within, as if you are rewarded from inside. That is very much the nature. So you can see that during the flow, actually, we are touching spirituality, because fulfillment and reward come from inside. We are we don't want admiration, appreciation from outside. Whatever we are doing, we are just very contented and happy with it. And also in this state, our skills and challenge, they match. Because if I have a certain skills, and challenge is too much beyond the skills, then there is a mismatch, and it will create a lot of problem. So automatically we know our boundary, although we broke the old boundary, but we also know the next boundary which we cannot define. Because if we defy that boundary, our life will be in danger, or it may affect us in a negative way psychologically. So that is the meaning of challenge and skill, that we broke the old boundary, but then this new boundary, so we are safe still, although we entered into the unknown. But in the next flow, it is possible that this new boundary will be broken, but then there will be another boundary. And that is how we keep on creating ever new in our life. And the beauty of this flow moment is that our action and awareness are completely merged. And what that means is that mostly when we take any action, we think about it. We say, okay, I'm planning this action, I'm going to do this work. So these are the pros, these are the cons, these are the negative, these are the positive, these are the reward, these are the losses. So, there is a time lag. So here I'm planning action, say day after tomorrow, then I'm planning today for it. So before action comes, it will be 2 days. But the beauty of flow is that thinking part is analysis part is bypassed. A very unique wisdom of the body and brain surfaces, and the action and planning or thinking, which is not really thinking by thoughts, but the whole being is thinking in a very unique organic way. They go together. So action is instantaneous. That's the beauty is that. So what that means, we live in the present. Because otherwise I'm thinking today, then I will take action after 5 days. So I'm not really living in the present, because my thinking comes from the past and my action is in future. So the past, present, future, past, present, future. In this state, action and awareness means everything merged into two in this moment, and there is a complete action. And also, there is a very interesting phenomena that we feel we are in total control. But this control is not the control which is put together by identity, ego, or our thinking. We feel safe, we feel protected. We know that nothing is going to happen to us which is negative. So this control is not the mind control. This is again a very spontaneous control, as if some force, some energy, and that is why some people call it divine or God, because all divine and God and spiritual experiences, they happen when we are in flow. But our mind, our thoughts are not controlling, our emotions are not controlling, but control happens. And that is what is called trust. So that is the beauty of entering into natural personality. And so after the naturality practice, identity, and natural personality, now we are fully ready for very big adventure. Because that is how we laid the foundation of all preparations, and we are now completely ready. And once we are completely ready, then the next something will come, but that is for other sessions. So I will stop here enough for this session, and we will move on in future session. So completing natural personality.